Hey everyone, this is Kaustubh here from InsightStat, and in today's video we are going to talk about pivoting, unpivoting, and transposing. We'll try and look at the difference between pivot or unpivoting and transpose. So what is pivoting? Pivoting describes the process of turning distinct row values into columns, and unpivoting describes the process of turning distinct columns into rows. Sounds a little confusing, right? Okay, let's try and untangle it. So I have this Excel with me where I have a date, the product category, the north, central, and the south region sales, right? Now this looks like a lot of data. Now how do we make sense out of this data? Now in Excel it's very easy, right? All we have to do is select the range that we want, and all I have to do is go into insert, pivot table, okay, and then I bring product category into rows, and the north region, the central region, and south region in the values. And look at this. This is the table that we get, right? We now have the total across all the product categories by the regions, right? So this is pivoting. But not always you would find pivoting to be useful. For example, let's import this very file to Power BI, and we will click on OK, promote the headers. Right, now let's say the sales team comes to you and says that, we would want to look at some visualizations with this data, and we should be able to filter using the product category, the region, or the date. Now with this level of view, it becomes really troublesome to filter the visualization or any visualization with the region. You might be able to do it with the product category or the date, but with the regions it becomes very difficult since we have the regions as column headers. Now in such a scenario, what do? That is where unpivoting comes to our rescue. As I said, pivoting describes the process of turning distinct row values into columns, and unpivoting talks about the process of turning distinct columns into rows. So let's see how to do it. Let's say I select the regions, and then I go to transform, and I say either I can go for unpivot columns or unpivot only selected columns, since I have made a selection here. I can go here, unpivot selected columns, and look at this. Now I have two columns. Out of the three columns, now I have two. One is for the region, let me rename it, and one is for, let's say this is the quantity sold, right? So now I have unpivoted it, and I have it at a row level. This data is at a row level, and when I put it into any visualization, it helps me in putting the appropriate filters, right? Now what is pivoting? Pivoting is exactly opposite. Now we will be converting the distinct rows into columns. So what do? I click on these two, I go to pivot column here, click on pivot column. Now look at this. Use the names in column region to create new columns. And where are the values coming from? My values are coming from the quantity sold. It's been selected here, that is quantity sold. Now all I have to do is OK. Now there's a problem here. These were not the values, these were not the original values. So sometimes what we have to do is go back here, advanced options, and I have to select don't aggregate. Look at this. I get my original values back, and that's how pivot works, right? So we saw what is unpivoting, we saw what is pivoting. Now let's look at what is transpose. Now, transpose, again, the concept is exactly the same as we saw in Excel. Let's go back to our CSV file here, not Excel. Right. Now, how does transpose work? So if I select this data and I copy this, and let's say I want to paste my copied data here, and I right click here, go to paste special, and look at this, I have the option of transposing here. So I click on this, check this transpose option, okay. Look at this, what has happened. Do you see the resemblance here? What has happened? My rows have been converted into columns, and my columns have been converted into rows. That's what transpose does. Transpose converts the rows into columns and converts the columns into rows. Very similar and exactly the same thing what we will see here. Let me delete the rows from here, and if I just do a transpose, look at this. It's exactly the same thing which we saw in the Excel file. Right? My rows have been converted into columns, and my columns have been converted into rows. So this is the difference between pivot or unpivot and transpose. Right? So pivot, I repeat again, pivot is the process of turning distinct row values into columns, and unpivot is exactly the opposite. It's the process of turning distinct columns into rows. Right? So I hope this video was helpful in understanding what is pivot, unpivot, and transpose. If you liked it, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more such videos. This is all for today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.